'cause both wanna be right, lose sight, cut with.
In a giant sea of cool podcasts, you found the only podcast that kicks the cool to the curb. I'm your big sister Shishi.
And I'm your big little brother Tone.
I'm your little brother Wopsle.
And we like to bring you the reviews that you didn't even know you needed. Hi.
Hi, She.
I don't know, feel compelled to is what I would say.
Yeah, we have to. We
Well,
don't just like, we
took
like
a
it.
solemn vow.
Right.
We took a vow.
We took a vow. We liked it. And so, we liked the vow and we like the reviews and we like that you didn't know you needed them. And we just like it all.
True.
So
We like it all. Yeah, I was just the other day, I was like, you know what? I really like that vow that I took. I like that vow.
So I'm glad we're all on the same page then.
Right.
Well, I would like to talk about a little game that I learned yesterday. And I learned this game at your house, Wopsle, and Tone wasn't able to come to the gathering, so we'll have to show him this game next time. But it's called Kuub. So, Tony, I will describe this game just very easily for you. It's just you have blocks of wood that you stand up in a line, and then the other side has blocks of wood in a line, and you are throwing these clubs at the blocks of wood and trying to knock them over.
Okay.
And it got infinitely more interesting to me when Wopsle told me that he had heard that they represented skulls and femurs of fallen Viking enemies.
Wow. So it's like am I getting like an angrier Jenga? Like an angry Jenga.
It's sort of like many horseshoes, like many,
Wow.
you're trying to knock these things up. Jenga, no, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, there's no stacking.
Okay.
They're just kind of
No.
sitting out in the yard in different areas. And you're trying to knock them over with the femurs
Yes.
of the fallen Viking foes. So
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, well, on Wikipedia, I much prefer calling them the femurs and the skulls. But they
Absolutely.
said that the skulls are called Kubbar or Kubar. Anyway, Tony, you'll have to learn it. I think you'd enjoy playing that too. It's not overly difficult to learn, and you just basically sit there and wish that you were finished. That's pretty, because you can go back and forth all day long.
yeah, like most good yard games, you say that sounds like a good idea, and then immediately wish it was over, and then you give up, which is exactly what we did yesterday. We didn't even finish the game.
Wopsle was like, I
Right.
can wait to eat until we're done, somebody's got to win. I can't. No, okay, it's time to eat. Let's go. Yeah.
Right.
We played for a long time.
I was laying out in the grass, just completely famished. I army crawled into the house to get a barbecue sandwich because it had been so long.
And Kuub was forgotten.
You know what? Kuub won that round.
Kuub won that
Right.
round. The king,
You win today, Kuub.
yeah,
Yep.
the king was still standing, and that was the end. So
Have you guys now? See, I would have played, but I would have dominated you guys because I'm used to playing Super Kuub, which is some people call S Kuub,
what?
and then some people shorten it to Scoob.
Scoob?
And it's all Scooby Doo themed, and you got to knock down these Scoobies with these femurs. It's great.
Okay. With the femurs,
Scoob.
of course, right.
Yeah,
Is that what that movie was about that came out this year?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what movie you're talking about, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was. Yeah, definitely.
The answer is just yes.
Yep.
Wow, that sounds really fun.
Super Kuub. Super
Super
Kuub.
Kuub, Scoob for short.
Scoob for
Awesome.
short.
And so it's
Yeah.
Scooby femurs and Shaggy skulls. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty dark.
Yeah, I like that.
That's pretty
So I'm going
dark.
to tell people from now on.
Yes.
We're gonna play some Scoob.
Oh man, I almost don't want to review anything, and I just want to keep talking about Kuub. But we do have to get into the reviews. So let's start with Tone this week. What do you got?
You know, we could name the episode KUUB, which is 4 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just this whole episode, we could talk about Kuub.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it. I'm good. So we're all 4 going to
Maybe
review Kuub. No, okay.
Right.
Maybe we should just move on.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead. Just as an experiment, I'm going to go ahead and start this week's reviews with a listener suggested topic.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
We should
it's
start
a
doing
little-
that every week, really, I think. Shouldn't we?
I agree. Let's do it. And this one is really something that we're, pretty familiar with, I guess. But it's starting a podcast. Today we're going to review starting a podcast, and that was sent in by Steven, one of our biggest fans. Thank you so much for sending that in, Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Oh, hi. I didn't know you were coming over.
How was your flight?
Are your arms tired?
Oh, yeah, your arms are tired. Your arms are tired. We get it.
So, Wopsle, what do you think about starting a podcast?
Well, I love it now that we've been doing this for a while and people understand the things that we're experts in. This is obviously one of them, right? Like, this is where we are ready to shine because we know all the ins and outs. We've obviously done this incredibly successfully.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm ready to just pour out so much knowledge. I'm pretty sure Steven said he asked this because he's been considering starting a podcast.
Right.
So I'm excited to share our knowledge.
Me too. Shishi, what do you think about starting a podcast?
I'm feeling a little bit of pressure to give some actual, real, usable advice, I mean, this sounds like
Yeah.
a serious question. Like, he really wants to know, like you said, he might be thinking about starting a podcast and like, do I know how to start a podcast? I'm not even sure because it feels like it just happened, I mean, we got together and just had some good times and some good brainstorming sessions, and we just stuck something out there and took off from there. And so I guess maybe that's how you have to do it, Stephen. I don't know. Unless you have someone that actually knows what they're doing helping you. You just...
Yeah. I think step one, of course, is have siblings. That's step one.
Right.
For sure.
Which he should be able to handle that, no problem.
Right.
I've heard he's a resourceful guy.
Right.
Good.
I really do think, I think it's, I joke about that, but like when you do a podcast with your siblings, you have like years and years and years of practice at like going back and forth and, ripping on each other. And like the flow of the conversation really is so much easier with your siblings. It's kind of a cheat code that we've put in, I think.
Yes, I would agree with that. I also think that for us, it's been really important that we've practiced suppressing our emotions our whole lives so that we don't. So if you're used to just telling your siblings what you think about them, might not work for you. We're good at low key, just accepting each other the way we are and continuing on. I think that is actually probably really sad.
I love it.
An expert at pushing things down. You have to, right. This is paramount.
Sibling rivalry has no place in a podcast. No, we really don't have that much sibling rivalry, really.
Well, we really don't. We did when we were kids. You and I did, but, Wopsle was so much younger than us that there wasn't a whole lot of rivalry to be had because I could beat him up whenever I wanted to. So,
which you did, just to make sure that if I ever was curious,
just in case.
I
Wopsle,
had no idea this was
you
happening.
Oh yeah, occasionally I would grab Wopsle and be like, "Okay, here's the deal. I'm not going to beat you up right now, and you're very lucky." And he'd be like, "Okay, cool." Thanks for the heads up.
It was always a thinly veiled beating up. It's like, hey, let's play this game. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
And then he would be like this is true story. That one time when he put a sock on his hand with another sock in the end of it to make a boxing glove.
we were trying our karate.
With like one punch, then the sock moved to the side. And so he just cold cocked me in the face with his fist. Looking back, I'm like, was that actually the plan all along? I think it may have been.
I was 13 years old and you were 5. You can't just beat up a 5-year-old when you're 13. I had small man muscles going on already.
Right, yeah.
And you were 5 years old. You can't just walk up and punch. So you got to create tricks to where that allow you to punch the 5-year-old little brat.
I am horrified. Maybe if I'd quit my job and just stayed home. I was at Sonic too much. I was with my boyfriend too much. Y'all needed a buffer.
You could have saved Wopsle's life and he wouldn't have turned out so bad. Wow.
On second thought, I probably wouldn't have been a very good buffer anyway at that point in time. So I might have been in my bedroom while you guys were out doing that somewhere. I might have been there the whole time.
Right.
You would have been like, punch quieter. I'm on the phone.
Yeah. I'm talking to a boy.
Now, what is our topic right now? Foley? I can't remember.
Starting a podcast.
Oh yeah, starting a podcast. One thing I wanted to mention, about starting a podcast that's to me super important is the number one thing. Okay, there's all these little things that you've got to do. You've got to set up a new podcast email. That's one of the first things I did was like, okay, we're going to want an email address where everything's going to land. And so everything you sign up for, it all comes back to the email address. So the first thing you got to do is get your podcast email set up. And then the second thing you do is set up your Scoob game. And once you play a couple of rounds of Scoob, then you're ready to go. That's why we haven't been very good. That's why it took us a long time to get good.
Now we're going to get good because we did Scoob yesterday. No, we still haven't played Scoob. We just did Kuub. We didn't play Super Kuub.
We're waiting for Tone for that one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I will say that, I think that looking back, we did everything as right as we possibly could for an operation that had no money. We were doing everything for free right at first. Then I did drop $100 for the podcast hosting. So, you just learn as you go, like what you actually need. You might not need a website. We just chose to get a website. And so just to make it easier to direct people to give us money, which we haven't really
which has not panned out.
No. So
yeah, I was so excited and adamant about getting the website and getting the domain kick.cool, which I feel like is a really cool and interesting and memorable website.
Yes.
But for what? Nope, nobody goes there. And then when I really think about it is, any of you listening to this out there, how many podcasts websites have you ever gone to? I know the answer.
Right, exactly.
It's zero. The five
Zero.
podcasts. And I've never gone to any of the podcast websites.
I love our website. I'm glad that we have that domain, and I'll be sad if we decide to let it go. But financially, who knows what'll happen in the future.
Well, that's one thing too, I guess, that needs to be said, Stephen, is that, if you do decide to start one up, this isn't free. It costs money to do a podcast, and there's all these restrictions and limitations you're going to run into that you have to determine, well, is it now worth my money for instance, like the service that we use for our phone calls is called Zencaster. So we all do a call on this thing called Zencaster. And so, but that, there's a free version and then there's the premium version if you want the good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so on every step of the way, you're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to use the free version, which is going to limit me, or am I going to pay for some stuff? So, yeah.
And so that's the thing. You can get started for free, and you don't want to do it for free because it's way harder and the limitations, like our storage for the podcast. I think if we're doing it, we're with Podbean, and I think the free version, you can have like 5 hours hosted at a time or something like that. And so every time we posted a new episode, we'd have to drop off the previous episode. And it was just, we wanted all of our episodes available all the time.
Well, the people wanted that. The people wanted all of our episodes wanted it all the time. Yes.
And the people really like our website too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, it helps to have a one angry, jerky sounding producer.
Mm-hmm,
and then a lot of girls in HR. You need to get all that going, and then you'll just be the talent, because that's what we are. We're just the talent, and everybody else does all the work.
Yes.
We just all I do is I show up about 5 minutes late for work. I come and I sit down in my golden throne, and I pull my golden mic up next to me, and I start talking, and then I don't stop for about 2 hours. and everything's peachy keen. Everything's great.
And then it just magically happens for you. We have a finished episode.
We all just get up and stand up and walk out. We're like, tell Chet to edit that together by Monday.
Yeah.
Then Chet gets to work.
Get to work, Chet.
You know, some weeks, this is probably, people don't realize, some weeks we can't get together. So I'll just record like an hour of audio without you guys on the other end. Just saying things like, well, I don't remember that at all. Or like, well, that would be way better with cheese on it. And then Chet takes that and makes an episode.
Well, and then I do my part and I just laugh and say, oh my gosh, a lot.
And wait,
pretty much.
hold on. There is one other thing you do, and it starts with this. Sherry and her list, Sherry and her list, Sherry and her list.
Yes, I do have to have my list. Yes.
It has been, we've been really lucky that those lists have fit in with the rest of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's always a chance.
Yeah. And then I record usually about an hour a week of me agreeing with other people.
Yeah.
A full hour.
Just for an hour, I just agree.
In fact, on our Patreon, if you wanted just that audio track, just to like for affirmation for yourself, then our Patreon, then we have that. Just Tony agreeing with you.
Just me agreeing with you for a full hour.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think that we've really, Steven now is going to obviously have the most successful podcast ever. And Steven, if you start a podcast, you know the first thing you have to do is tell us and get us to listen to it, because we would love to hear that. That'd be great. Yeah. So let's go ahead and rate this puppy. Wopsle, what do you rate starting a podcast?
You know, I'm thinking about the early days of podcasting and the start of it. And so I'm going to rate podcasting 23 different microphone attempts.
Oh, yeah.
Getting that right mic and the right stuff. I mean, it takes a long time. It's so frustrating, and it doesn't work week to week. And then you move into the closet, and then you switch. You know, I have about 40 T-shirts right here I'm touching right now that I want to get rid of, but I can't because they're my sound dampening things.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you sound great. Yeah.
It's so many attempts at making your mic sound good. 23 to be exact.
All right. Cece, what do you rate starting a podcast?
I rate starting a podcast 18 unsold mugs.
Oh, yes.
And that might be a generous number too.
I'm gonna say I have 9 right here above my head. I'm looking at them.
Gosh. Hold on, I have to count now. How many's in a flat? I think I have 12 here, so.
Yeah, okay.
Speaking of websites and mugs, if you go to kick.cool, you could free up closet space in my house by taking some of these mugs off of our shelves.
Yeah, just buy us 4 coffees on our website, and we'll send you a Kick the Cool mug. They're really awesome. They're beautiful. So Steven, that's actually, my first suggestion to Steven, before you play Super Kuub, before you play Scoob, before you get siblings, the first thing you need to do is buy a lot of mugs from one of your favorite podcasts. That's how you start. But I'm going to kind of along those same lines, I'm going to rate starting a podcast way too many unused T-shirt ideas. Way too many. Yeah. That's exactly how many. Way too many.
Yes.
If only we could just get a fire lit under our butts and actually do them.
I think it's called money. If we had some money lit under our butts.
Yeah, money lit under our butts.
And closet space, because I've got all these mugs. I don't have any room for unsold T-shirts in here right now.
You know what? Here's the last piece of advice. I would, if you want to get merch, get something that can be laid flat in an envelope, because the shipping is stupid. Okay, the shipping for these mugs is way more than we paid for the mugs.
Stationary.
Thank you, Steven.
Thanks, Steven.
Stationary. Yeah, sorry, I stepped on that.
It's okay.
Stationary.
All right, so that was great. We thank you, Steven, for sending us that suggestion for a topic. So we're going to move on to Wopsle, and Wopsle brought his own topic today. What you got?
That's what I did. I've been working on it in the shop, whittling it,
Mm-hmm.
shining it.
Of course. Shining it up.
What else do you do?
Polishing. You did that.
Putting it to bed, laying it right back down. But I want to talk about something that I feel like I am very interested in anyway, but I don't know where we're going to go with it. But let's review for the people pawn shops. Because especially for people that listen to us from Prague, our hometown, Davenport's, the pawn shop there in town, was like, it was pretty hopping, at least for me in my teenage years. So that I have a specific thing, but I want to talk about them more in general too. So what do you think about pawn shops?
Well, I think that they serve a very useful purpose in our society, and I don't frequent them very much, but when I'm looking for a laptop, I go there first and then I change my mind and go get a new one.
Right.
And I have sold I've sold jewelry and unwanted video games there. So mostly I don't usually use it as a pawn shop. I use it as a buyer of my merchandise.
Right.
That's right.
It's a good distinction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tone, how about you? How do you feel about the pawn shop?
You know what I really love about the pawn shop is the diversity, like the different kinds of pawn shops you find, and like you can tell, like for instance, the Prague, Oklahoma pawn shop, where we grew up in our small town, that pawn shop had a whole lot of archery stuff going on, folks.
Yeah,
I mean, it was bow hunting season 24/7 up in that place.
Yeah.
And so, but if you go to a pawn shop in a big city, you're not going to find archery equipment. You're going to find a lot more electronics and guitars. So I really find it interesting that there's such an assortment of different pawn shops.
I would like to interject a tiny little tidbit about our past that I'm not sure you guys knew. And that is that the Prague Davenport's pawn shop was owned at one time by our grandmother, Grandma Stosta.
Yeah.
And it was the Stosta's Five and Dime.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 50s and 60s. So
yes.
That's a tidbit.
I didn't even think, I knew that, but I didn't think about bringing that. Our family owned what is now the pawn shop in Prague. That's wild.
Does that mean that we're kind of like from a family of pawnbrokers?
Sure.
We are basically pawn stars. Yeah, I think is what that means.
Yes. I'm Chun-Li or whatever his name is. Yes.
I'm Baraka.
There are no girls on there, so I guess I'm just hanging out.
You can be the dad.
I'm the lady that brought in the Elvis memorabilia. That's me. I'm that one.
Chun-Li.
Yes, I got it before anybody else can steal it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, that's a good point, Tone, because I remember there's only two shops we went to. The one there in Prague, if we wanted, only archery things all day long. And then the one in Shawnee we would go to, Circle D Pawn, that was all the SNES video games, like as far as the eye could see. And so it was much more big city over there in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Right. My life, I do want to say my life has basically been just a little bit of a roller coaster of collecting things and then later selling them in a frantic fit, selling them at the pawn shop.
Yeah.
That's been my life pretty much. So it's been wild.
Oh, I forgot that I did remember that green guitar I had? I bought that at the pawn shop.
Right.
I bought that at Circle D.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. With the rainbow strap.
I remember that guitar. I played together.
I remember that
many
too.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, I've actually never pawned anything in my life. Like I either need it or I don't. And so it's not I need some money now, but I'll need this thing back later. I usually cut ties with things before I want it back later. But I've always done purchasing at pawn shops. I like the variety. I like the treasure hunt aspect of it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
That you gotta kind of figure out. You're like, I want a CD player back in the day, and then there's a big bin of Discman of various shapes and sizes and conditions.
Yeah.
They all have a sticker slapped on it that's never coming off, and you're just kind of rolling the dice, and that's exciting to me.
Gosh, now I'm thinking about all the stuff I forgot that I bought at pawn shops. This is amazing. Yeah, I do like that aspect where you can go like, okay, this sewing machine has like this shape, and picking it up, and you can look at the bottom, and you can, and you can't really do that in the store. If it's new stuff, it's like the less selection. You can't choose something that's maybe 10 years older that costs less at it when you're buying new,
That's right.
So,
and I mean, also you have, in no Walmart can you walk up and go, yeah, I'd like to plug this in, try it out.
Right. Yeah.
But every pawn shop, any item in the store, you can be like, yeah, I'd like to try that out. You could go up there and say, hey, let me try out that pistol right there. They'd be like, all right.
Can I see if this curling iron heats up?
Right.
Look, bro, can you bring your lunch back out here? I want to see if this toaster oven works. Just, you got some kind of bread back there. Just bring it on out. Let's.
And in fact, you're an idiot if you don't.
Well,
you're an idiot if you don't test it.
Let me tell you this story, Tone, because I think you know the ending, but you don't know the beginning. So I went to Circle D Pawn there in Shawnee, and they had a copy of Killer Instinct for the Super Nintendo. And remember, there was a game once in a while that would have a different color cartridge. So it was with the black cartridge, Killer Instinct, and it was a really good deal. So I bought it and took it home and was so pumped. But then I put it in, and the game wasn't Killer Instinct. Someone had opened it up and switched it because Killer Instinct was the brand new hot game.
Whoa.
And they had pawned the game that wasn't the actual game.
And they didn't check it.
And they didn't check it, and I didn't check it because it's like I was so excited to get Killer Instinct, the new game, for cheaper than it was at the store. But the funny part is the game that was on there instead was called Tecmo Basketball.
No way.
Which ended up being a way better game than Killer Instinct. And to this day, in my top 5 favorite games of all time, was that Tecmo Basketball game. It was so good. And Tony, I remember you played it as much as I did back in the day.
Oh man, that summer that you went down to Louisiana or whatever it was, building houses for the church or whatever. I did nothing but play Tecmo Basketball.
Yeah, it's a great game. And so I was like, I'm kind of mad. I should have checked it out, but also I wouldn't have necessarily played it, and now I have this great game. So it worked out.
So you're talking about video games. There is nothing more disheartening than paying $70 for a new Super Metroid cartridge, and then 2 months later you go and it's like $3.
Yeah.
That's bad. Actually, I think I paid $80 brand new for Super Metroid. So, yeah.
Now I'd like to ask something about pawn shops. Is, in your experience, how much haggling should be done? If one is learning the ways of the pawn shop experience, how much haggling should they do?
Can I hop in real quick and say I know how much haggling the three of us do because I know us three well.
Right. Absolute zero.
Haggling.
Absolute zero.
Haggling is adjacent to conflict, and you're just like, sweet, 50 cents sounds awesome.
And that is the personality trait that makes our podcast special.
That's right.
Push it down. Yep.
Yeah, my haggling is, $50? Okay. That's my haggling.
Yeah, mine usually is accompanied by a sound of, oh, man. Oh.
All right, here you go.
Okay. And then they look at you and they're almost mad. They're like, are you serious? You have no fight? You have no fight in you.
You're just going to stand there and take it. And, all right, then.
Then you deserve it.
Right.
Yeah, Pawn Stars, the show that, if no one's seen it, it's a Las Vegas pawn shop. And so there's always pretty big memorabilia and stuff coming in. There's a ton of haggling on there, and they'll bring in experts to look at it and all this stuff. So I think we're all supposed to be haggling at the pawn shop. I think that's a part of what they signed up for when they opened it.
Right. That's right.
I think we're doing them a disservice by not haggling more, I think.
Well, I worked at a pawn shop for a day. So for one day. And so I can tell you guys that they told me that haggling was basically where I would make my money. That the hourly rate was like minimum wage or something, but if you haggled with people and made them pay more for an item, then you would get a bigger cut. So that's something to realize. These people are not haggling just for the fun of it. They're doing it because that's the money in their pocket.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't haggle. I'm like, they need money. Okay.
And that's why you only worked there one day. You were like, well,
that's why I worked there one day.
this is
I was
not-
like, I'm not a haggler.
this work is not cut out for me.
When you hired me, could you not tell that I'm a conflict avoider by trade?
Because you offered me below minimum wage, and I said, oh, man. All right.
Oh man. Okay. When do I start?
There's not enough public interactions where someone says, oh, man. just right to the face of the person that they're buying or selling to.
I did that to a cop one time. I literally did. He said he pulled me over. He had me come and sit in his car, and I go and sit in the front seat of his car, and he's writing me a ticket, and he says, all right, I'm going to write you a ticket. And I went, oh man. And he goes, hey, it can be a lot worse than this, pal. Don't come at me. And so I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I guess that's the adult version of whining.
Yes.
You were just like, I've been working at the pawn shop all day, and I'm just used to that.
Yeah.
To that reaction,
man.
officer. Well, and the last thing I'll say about our pawn shop back home is in Little Preg, Oklahoma, it was the only place you could buy guitar strings.
That's
so
right.
I was in there getting guitar strings all day, every day. And I'm not sure why they had guitar strings, because it was an archery shop, and there's shotguns, and there's old VCRs.
Oh, right.
Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for pawn shops today. But we got to rate this puppy before we get out of here. So, what do you rate pawn shops?
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but if you take a diamond engagement ring to be sold in a pawn shop, they will not give you and yes, I know this from experience. They will not give you the value of the diamond. They will only give you the value of the weight of the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And they will give you that price for the gold that day. No more, no less. And so I am going to rate pawn shops $1,911.72, which is today's price of gold per ounce.
Nice. Oh. Look at this research.
All right, Tone, what do you rate pawn shops?
Very simple. I have to rate pawn shops my favorite thing about pawn shops, which is every time I go into one, I have to buy a copy of the game Scoob. And so what I do is I'm going to rate it 147 copies of the game Scoob.
Okay.
That's my rating.
I do always wonder what events transpired when they have like rows and rows of the same thing, like 30 copies of Twister, and and you're just like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Where did all these Scoobs come from? Okay, well, I got to rate. I've never sold anything at the pawn shop. I've never pawned anything, but from what I understand, this is pretty prevalent there. I'm going to rate pawn shops 1 low ball offer.
Nice.
Seems to be what they are about over there.
Yep, it really is.
Okay, well, that was a really good topic. And as usual, the good topics are the ones that bring in all of our past experiences in so that we can just talk about them at length and don't care at all about who's listening.
And alienate.
Those are the best ones. So, but now we have to pay the bills somehow. And for that, we're going to go to our 5-star review. Let's go.
5-star review. Let's go. Woo. 5-star.
With a stain, you're so damn fed up that you gotta complain and write a letter. You'll feel better.
All right, so this week for our 5-star review, we are going to talk about Brahms. Brahms is the sponsor for this week.
That's a big get.
I
That's
know,
a really big
right? Yeah. Maybe it has something to do with, my oldest son works at Brahms and Maybe they just think he's such a great worker that they reached out and they didn't. I can't even. No, they didn't. I can't pretend.
None of that happened. I can't.
He is a good worker. Yeah. So let's say some good things about Brahms.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, there's hardly anything bad you can say about them. I've never worked there, but I have eaten there quite a bit, and they do no wrong. We should start though. A lot of people might not even know what Brahms is.
Yeah, okay. So Brahms is a restaurant chain that was started in Tuttle, Oklahoma, and in order to maintain the freshness of the ingredients, they have no stores that lie outside of a 300-mile radius. So all through Oklahoma, and just at the edges of the surrounding states, they have Brahms, and they're never going to expand because their freshness is, they grow all of the stuff on the farm in Tuttle. They have all their own cows. They may have a dairy and it's just delicious food. It's just delicious food. That's all. They have really good ice cream. That's probably the reason you go to Brahms most of the time, is the ice cream.
Yeah, I think that's what people think of when they think of Brahms as ice cream, but that burger and fries from Brahms fries might be the best in town. I love those so much.
And they have really good salads.
I do have to, I've never had one of their salads, but I have had, their burgers are really good too. Mm-hmm. And, but I will say this, homemade ice cream. What a perfect way to say. Oh, that's Bluebell. My bad.
That's Bluebell.
Bluebell.
I'll cut that
out. Now Brahms isn't going to pay us. See what you did?
Oh, no.
Hey, Brahms, just forward the bill to Bluebell, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just continue this in the Bluebell. Man, Bluebell has the best ice cream, don't
Bluebell ice cream is so good.
Great.
This is kind of half and half, We'll still sell the ad.
Okay, well, thanks Bluebell and Brahms.
Thanks, Bluebell and Brahms.
Thanks, Bluebell and Brahms, apparently.
Thank you.
When you're left with a stain, you're so damn fed up that you gotta complain and write a letter. You'll feel better. Reviews.
Okay, well... As usual, our 5-star review just hit right out of the park, didn't it?
Yes,
so,
right.
okay, so
reviews like that is why we keep getting so many new sponsors.
So let's just move right along to our last topic for the day, and that's me. I'm last today, and so. I dropped off Maggie Rose, my youngest daughter. She's 17. I dropped her off at camp today. So I want to talk about camp, guys.
Oh, camp. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Camp. And I'm talking about, I guess we can talk about all different kinds of camps. Like you can have a day camp or you can have a sleepover camp or whatever. She is actually staying there for like a week at a time. She comes home on the weekends and she's there during the week, living in a dorm. So
sweet.
It's going to be really fun. She always has a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So which one of you has not been to camp?
I'm always at camp.
I don't know why,
yeah.
Tony. I thought you had not been to camp.
Well, it's a little weird because the only camp I've been to is actually band camp, but I've been twice.
That counts. That counts.
So no, I did go to church camp one year, and but I didn't go with the church. Me and a guy that I was hanging out with said, "Hey, this is where all the babes are. Let's go to church camp and hang out with all the girls and that are at church camp." And so we went and kind of like crashed the party. We crashed.
Camp crashers.
So
crashers.
did you stay there or did you just go for the day and hit on girls and then go home? Yeah,
we just went for one day and hit on a bunch of girls. And so, but at band camp, there's a joke about band camp that we don't want to talk about, but that's what everybody thinks of when you say band camp. And I'm here to tell you, band camp is actually a very specific, unique thing that does not involve what you're thinking, and what the joke is about. But when at band camp, I learned a very valuable lesson that band camp, they tell you it's fun, and it's not until about a year later, and you go, "That's pretty fun."
Remember that time at band camp? That's when you
Right.
start saying that.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, maybe that stereotype is there for a reason. Because in hindsight, everything's way worse or more interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So what about you, Wopsle?
As the day that this episode is released, is the day that I get back from a summer camp. So shout out to Disciple Camp. If you guys are listening to this podcast, you probably shouldn't be. But yeah, I've been to a summer camp, at least one, every single summer since, in the last 21 years. So I'm going to 3 this summer.
Wow.
And I love camp. I tell you, I've made this joke before that whenever I first started being a youth pastor, I was like, they're going to pay me to go to camp? Like I get as part of my job? And then now every time I go, I'm like, I do not get paid enough to go
now
to
you're like,
camp.
please, why do I have to do camp again?
It is a
Please.
180. It's like, my own bed I'm leaving behind. And now, of course, with kids and family, not to mention that. But it is a different world.
Wopsle, you and I are coming at this from the same point of view because I remember going to camp when I was a kid. I went to Campfire Girl Camp when I was about 6, and I did not enjoy it. And then, because I didn't have any friends there. And then I went to a church camp when I was about 9 or 10. I didn't enjoy it because my friend didn't have any friends there. And I was never really good at making friends just on the spot. So I didn't really, and then I had like cheerleading camp in high school, and that was a blast. I really enjoyed that because all of my friends were there. But then, so I didn't go to camp for a long time. And then I got this job. This is my 3rd camp that we did these past 2 weeks. And I'm kind of done with it. I'm kind of done. But I will say that it's all encompassing. You can think of nothing else while you are working camp.
Yes.
Day and night. You fall into that terrible little bed exhausted, and you get up exhausted, and you do activities exhausted, and you are still having a good time because the kids are so special, and you love the connections you're making while you're exhausted. And
Right.
So this last time I got to do a class where we were teaching the kids how to do experiments, like with slides, and you drop these testers on some sample water and, see if it's contaminated and all that. And it was the best. But camps,
cool.
I'm glad it's over. Yeah. And I love those kids, and I hope not to see them till next year. And no, actually, I'd rather see them outside of camp because camp is it's just so intense,
Well, that's an important distinction, that now whenever I think about camp, because I've been to whatever, let's say probably, I don't know, maybe 80 camps in my life. But you know how many times I was a camper in my life? 3.
Yeah.
Exactly 3.
Yes, me
And
too.
that experience is so great because, there's no rules. You're not on the hook for anything. Whereas once you're in charge of it, you're like every single activity, you're like, if this sucks, that's my fault.
Yes.
If this sucks, I suck. And so doing that week in and week out, summer in and summer out is it's pretty tough. But attending camp where it's just you're away from home, there's all the babes there.
Mm-hmm.
It stinks that's such a small window of your life that you get to be an attender of camp.
Yes, I mean, and that's the thing. That's when you are putting on a camp, you have to come at it from that perspective. As I am giving this kid, even if it's not perfect, even if I didn't plan a perfect program, it's still this kid is getting to do something that they would not otherwise have gotten to do, and opening their world is just really special to me. So
that's usually what I tell them. I'm helping you do something that you would not normally have gotten to do.
Yeah,
so stop critiquing me and act like it's fun.
Your camps are all about like the Bible and getting to Bible study and getting to know Scripture and stuff like that, I guess. What?
Yeah, kind of. I was gonna say people, getting to know people.
Getting to know
Yeah.
each other and learning about God and as a community and stuff like that. And ours is more about just focusing on the stuff that gets kids to college. And
That's
so
cool.
we are, well, except that we do classes. Like, so they're having class at camp. They're having class. Now, we try to make it really fun, and I think we did a good job this time. But they also get to go, do field trips and stuff. Tony, you might have something to say about this. I was going to ask you, like, there are a lot of movies about going to camp.
A lot.
Is there
A lot.
one that stands out to you?
I mean, Friday the 13th is kind of like, it's not really camp. Well, I guess it is. It's Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot about camp, and it's one of the scariest movies of all time. So yeah, it fits in there. But then of course you've got like Meatballs and there's just so many good camp ones. I think that Scoob is a really good camp movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I highly recommend it. Scoob 2. Scoob 2, scooping it up.
Scooping it up.
Scoobing again.
Yeah.
Hey, there really is a movie called Scoob this year. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
But-
Right.
there is. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
the
there's
one
a
you're
new
talking about.
there's a
And
new
there's
one.
a-
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
about the game.
Oh wait,
That
you
movie
mean,
that came out is about the game.
wait, you mean Scoob 2 Electric Scoobaloo?
That's exactly what I'm. Yeah. No.
Wow,
yes,
what an
Scoob 2.
original title.
But what about those good kind of kid but still great camp movies like Heavyweights? Do you guys remember that movie?
No.
Is that after y'all's
No.
time? Oh man, Heavyweights is kind of like in the Mighty Ducks kind of vein of things, where it's a fat camp for these kids, and then they end up taking on like the fit camp of kids and trying to beat them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Heavyweights is so great. I feel like there's a lot. You remember old Salute Your Shorts on Nickelodeon? Did you guys watch that, or again is that
Yeah.
after your time too?
No, that was
Nope, I
before.
remember
Yeah,
that.
it was after my time.
Oh man. Well, yeah, that and Hey Dude came on, where Hey Dude was like that dude ranch.
Yeah.
So I feel like especially like probably 89 to 96, there was like great campy kid kind of stuff that was so great. So that's what I think of when I think of media for camp. I didn't watch any movies because I was too scared of all those ones, but Salute Your Shorts was it for me.
And Heavyweights. Heavyweights was good. Huh? Is that a movie or a TV show?
That one's a movie.
Okay. Well, that reminds me. I need to put next week. Our show is our podcast is going to be sponsored by obesity. That'll be great. Okay.
Okay. Sweet.
Can we just thank them now and move on?
I don't think so. That just sounds really wrong. Thanks, obesity. No.
Okay, well, I think that we have beat that camp to death. So, yeah. So, Tone, what do you rate camp?
You know what I didn't even mention? I do have to mention this real quick. Next month, well, in July, I'll be going to do security for Wopsle's church's camp that they have
That's true.
called Camp Out.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I am? I'm the security. Yeah, that's what I do.
Good.
I'm the muscle.
Good.
So I'm going to rate. And so what I do is it's great. I sit in my car all the time and I watch movies on my laptop. But that means you have to have an extension cord that goes from like inside the building 1,000,000 feet out to the parking lot. And so I'm gonna rate it 500 out of 600 feet of extension cord. That's what I rate camping.
Hey, so you have been to camp. You're just there when everybody else is sleeping.
I've been to
You've been
camp
to
for the
camp?
last 4 years. Yeah.
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 So you know what it's all about at night in the dark and quiet. All right, Wopsle, what do you rate camp?
Oh man, what a hard.
It's so
thing to
hard.
rate.
I'm so sorry that I brought this up because this is like the hardest thing we've ever had to rate.
Okay, well, with camps, I have a love-hate relationship, and I still go to so many. Now I'm at the point where I'm sending my kids to camp, like you are, she. So I just love camp so much, and so I can't really joke about camp. There's plenty of things to joke about, but for me, I gotta rate camp 100 out of 100 life-altering experiences. I don't care if it's a
man.
STEM camp or a church camp. Growing up, I did an art camp that I still remember like so distinctly. Mr. Owen
Right.
teaching me about art. I think that every single camp experience, it's just, there's so many people that put so much time and energy into this one specified week meant for you. It's life-changing every time. So that's what I
Yes.
rate
Nice.
summer camp.
And wouldn't you
I love
agree
it.
that it changes your life too, even if you don't feel like it at the time?
Leading it?
No.
You're saying?
Yes, as a leader, yes.
I do think that it does. Yeah, it really does. You learn, it's like, like a teacher. You learn as much from them as they do from you.
You know what? That was going to be my rating
Oh, no.
as well.
Oh, no.
Sorry, she.
But you went first, so you get it. And kudos to you.
Got it.
Okay. So I think I'm going to have to rate camp 40 kids.
40 kids.
The end.
The end.
End of rating.
I really want to know. I really want to know how many times you have noticed a look on your face while you were at camp, while you were running a camp, and you noticed that you had the wrong look on your face and you had to change it because you were showing everyone how tired or frustrated or whatever you were, and the kids were looking at you going, "Whoa." Has that ever happened to you?
I don't think so. I really feel like whenever I am showing an emotion, it's fine with me if that emotion shows.
A time comes to mind for me, Tone, and it's, I don't notice it on my face. I actually notice it when the wrong words come out of my mouth. And I say, oh, I'm more tired or frustrated than I thought that I was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so many of the camps at the church camps I've gone to, I've been the worship leader with a band or something. And so one time when we were just like the countdown was going, we were about getting ready to get started. Me and the band are all up there, ready to get going. And this girl runs up to me and she says, "Hey," and she asked me to play this song called Marvelous Light, which anyone that's been in church in the last 15, 20 years is going to know this song, and know how overplayed it was. And so by that time, it was like the summer after it had been big. So I hated it so much. And so my mouth just happened to be next to the microphone. And this little seventh grade girl said, "Hey, will you guys play Marvelous Light?" And accidentally into the mic, I said, "No, I hate that song."
Oh, no.
And she looked at me so scared. This girl's favorite worship song from church that they sing back home and love to death. And now the camp worship leader, who is like,
The
irrationally
cool guy.
rock star status, told her
Right.
with the voice from Beauty and the Beast, "Oh, I hate that song."
Oh, my gosh.
And so that's how I
what I wanted
realized.
to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I realized. Once I've said it.
Yeah, so, okay. I really love camp. I really hate camp. So that's the end of that. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today.
Yeah, hey, thanks again, Stephen, for sending us your review topic. We hope that we've helped you get ready to start your own podcast. If you have a review topic you would like us to do, please send it to us at reviews@kick.cool. Your suggestions always end up being the best ones, and we need some more.
For sure.
And Stephen, I also would like to say something to check out is there's a book that recently came out about podcasting that is from some of our favorite podcasters. It's called Everybody Has a Podcast Except You. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard good things. So go check out that book.
Yeah.
We also want to thank the band Bugs for letting us use the song Reviews as our theme song. Please go like their Facebook page and buy everything they've got to sell. That's all.
Yep, that's it. So you can come follow us at Kick the Cool on all of our social media. And that means that I'm She.
I'm Tone.
And I'm Wop.
And we'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. BLB, LOB, LLB, LLBJ.
You've gotta complain, write a letter. You'll feel better.
Nope, she cool J. Sorry.
She.
Cake cool.